Hi, everybody. It's another day and another set of news headlines. Some of them may be new, but like most of the news, it's the same thing that's happening over and over to different people over the ages. And we're going to take a look at what's in the news today. We're looking at, as usual, the Drudge Report. Again, many people don't like this. It's a right-wing leaning kind of alarmist headlines. If you look at yesterday's video, it was quite alarming the way they set up the headlines. However, there are certain reasons why people would choose a Drudge Report. It does have influence in the newsrooms, pointing out clickbaity things for the big news outlets to follow. So if I have a link in the first video on this series explains a little bit about the Drudge Report history and why, despite we might hate it, it is still relevant and somewhat interesting to look at. So here we go, today's news. Right away, and so my intent with this is to give some context and a little bit of background, because a lot of news is just some fact, but it's important to understand what's behind it. And here we have the Saudi crown prince, who's a de facto leader of that country that has unimaginable economic resources. It's just talking about how his moves to have different sort of rapprochements between different countries in the Middle East is sort of blown to pieces by what's happening in Gaza. See, it scuttled this long-term plan to have Saudi Arabia and Israel finally recognize each other, as other Arab world countries have been doing over the past few years. And it's interesting here that the main thing is, if you're like a lot of American people and you know this person, MBS, as we call him in America, he's quite, if you look up his Wikipedia page, there's quite a lot of news about human rights abuses in Saudi Arabia. There was that Saudi journalist who was killed and dismembered in the Turkish embassy, and that was laid right on the doorstep of MBS. They tried to have war crimes or crimes against humanity laid against him, and for a while he was a pariah. However, he has sort of emerged from that dark cloud, but really for no other reason than the world has bigger fish to fry than to isolate Saudi Arabia or the crown prince, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, for these human rights abuses. So, and this overall, when I saw this article, I read it's quite interesting. Saudi Arabia is always a fascinating country. It's a country that under MBS's de facto rule has kind of come out of isolation and has done various things and moved onto the world stage in the way they had not in the past, and has moved quite a lot on some human rights areas, and allowing women to drive, things like that. May not seem enough to us, and most people in the United States would say, well, they don't have gay rights and women don't have rights. But what has happened is quite something, and the emergence under this new leadership to come onto the world stage. And as I say, okay, this is the main point. This is a good example of how, when there's bigger issues like peace in the Middle East, having good relations with Israel or recognizing Israel, even making peace with Iran, as MBS has seemed to have done, pulling out of the war in Yemen, all this sort of stuff. Those are bigger things that the world does want to engage Saudi Arabia with. So, unfortunately, as much as we'd like to say gay people can't be gay in Saudi Arabia and all this other stuff, we don't have any choice, and the world has had to come to Saudi Arabia's doorstep sometimes begging. Like I believe when President Biden flew over there to ask them to keep the oil prices low when inflation started getting high, and they told him no. But we still have to keep coming and crawling back for all of these international issues. So this whole thing about the Saudi prince is a good example of how sometimes there's greater issues, and we just can't isolate countries because of these bigger issues that we have. So what else? Thousands of protesters marching through London, fury on the streets. This is a very different time. I don't think there were times in history when as many people would not support Israel in doing just about whatever it wanted in the Middle East. This is obviously quite a challenging time. Here we have, I think most of these they've kept on article. Yesterday, all these headlines were there, but they were all in bright red ink. The 6 steps from World War III we went over yesterday. All of these, they're still on there. I guess they're good enough to keep for another day. Here we have, I won't leave this on very long. Here's Hitler. Michigan State put Hitler image on stadium scoreboard. They were broadcasting some sort of a quiz or something, and there he popped up. Musk always has a little spot here with some of his headlines. DeSantis, Liz Cheney, Biden. This is all about the upcoming elections next year, kind of the usual suspects. And here we have Trump. More on Trump. He's here every day with something or other, and I can say to generalize as much as possible when people, not Americans, people outside the United States, when they looked at the result, the people who are running, say in the 2016 elections, Hillary Clinton, and Trump, most foreigners would say, is this really the best sort of group of 2 people that you have for this? I mean, most people outside the United States acknowledge the United States as the world leader. We're supposed to have the best of everything. We're the trendsetter, whether you like it or not, in so many areas, in pop culture, in technology, and just the bigness. And it's just a big lumbering giant. So in 2016, they thought that. Then in 2020, the same sort of thing. Trump and Biden to go against Trump. They should have. It's just too bad they had to go with someone who age is now becoming a real issue. And again, if it really turns out in 2024 when we have Trump and Biden together, I mean, the world has to just wonder where are the younger generation that can speak up and lead and cut their way through this polarized situation, and these very elderly, almost unsuitable people, well, I would say in both cases unsuitable for the presidency. It's a very unusual, interesting predicament. Home buyer warning, no profit for 10 plus years. So exclamation point. Not a lot of news articles have exclamation points outside of Drudge, but here we have one. New homeowners won't see profit for over a decade, and a lot of these articles here are things to worry about. So don't worry. So don't read them if you don't want to worry. Gen Zers increasingly drawn to simpler living. This is probably an inevitable sort of thing. No sort of trend moves out forever into the ether. That no trend goes on and on. Every trend is going to knock backwards. I remember hearing stories in the 50s and early 60s where we have futurists who were talking about what life would be back like in the 70s and 80s. And they had things like an all plastic living room and with a sofa that you could hose down. Of course, this is the assumption that all of the technological and cultural norms of the 50s would continue on ad nauseum. But of course, what happened in the 60s was people rebelled against that. They rebelled against the plastic, fantastic future, and they rebelled against the fashions and the styles and the culture and all kinds of things. This is the same idea. You know, we've had all this technology and the internet and social media. It's bound to jump back like this, where people turn off the phones, they try to get away from social media, they object to all online commerce or you know, like all these websites that are forcing you to use an app on your phone. The banking services are going off the internet and going into apps. So this is even I feel like I'd rather go to a website. I don't want all these apps on my phone that I can, drop down the toilet accidentally, So this sort of go-go lifestyle that we've had is bound to change. That's the way history, it goes back and forth, then just go out forever and ever. What do we have? World's oldest dog dies. Oh, there he is. World's oldest dog has died at the age of 31. Okay, I don't know. Just wanted to show his face there. Growth numbers set to show U.S. still remains economic powerhouse. There are a number of factors going forward into this century that would probably belie this. And maybe some future thing we can talk about this more in depth. See, there's a Freudian slip right there. I said debt. That is a big problem for the United States. We have a debt for over 30 trillion, and we're running yearly deficits of almost 2 trillion. So Minnesotans least stressed out. I don't know. See, this is something in the media as well, where people are, you say, I'm not there, I'm not one of them, so I must be more stressed out, or I am one of them and I'm less stressed out. So we all have to be cognizant of, letting the media put us into a group of people where they say young people will have it worse than their parents or all these sort of things. Just be careful about perceiving yourself as integrated in such a group. Here's the Church of the AI chatbot, blah, blah, blah. It's something trendy. Not that interested. Ukrainian spies with deep ties to CIA wage shadow war against Russia. I hope Ukraine wins. Not that interested in that otherwise. Future of America in Texas. I was looking at this and I was, they're saying Dallas, Houston, and Austin are poised to replace New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago as the largest cities in the U.S. in 77 years. Seems amazing. Could Austin go from 2.3 to 22 million? I don't know. Again, a lot of stats like this, they don't take into account deep recessions or depressions or foreign wars or retractions. So maybe this is another extrapolation out into the future. Who knows? It's on Daily Mail, so yeah, who knows? Nation's downtowns empty. Fixing will be expensive. This is the hollowing out of downtowns. I think it's been going on for over 20 years. It started with after 9/11, and I'm not sure how many people really want to work in tall buildings. And then COVID even accelerated all that. And the internet makes it so easy, and that COVID thing forced everybody to learn how to do Zoom, and people realized maybe we don't need to pay all this money for this office space. Uber to offer hot air balloon rides in Turkey. I don't know. What else do we have? Argentina's been here in the news. Drudge seems to be following him. Celebs who've worked as spies. Paramount Sherry Redstone trouble finding consolidation partner. This is part of the media shakeup now with trouble in the media industry. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm not sure if it's the greatest time to be on strike, but maybe it is. I don't know. More about the Speaker, and I'm still not interested. Speaker of the House in U.S. Congress, not interested. Race to save our secrets from computers of the future. I got enough problems right now. Teen was having stroke. His dog helped saved him, doctor says. It's a good human interest story. It's exactly the sort of thing that the media would pick up on, and it would get reprinted in all the services. We had Dingy from yesterday. That's about it. And here, so this was today's headlines for today, October the 23rd. And it's more of the same. We finally got Ukraine mentioned again after Ukraine kind of went away for quite a while in all of the media. Even if you look at news.google.com, it disappeared from that as well. Oops. So okay. This is my book. If anybody's interested in what I write, There Are Still Unknown Places. It's a new novel of Bangkok about the lives of people living in this strange city of Bangkok, a mix of the ancient and the modern, and the loves and the lives and the tragedies of all of those folks who are here, both Thais and locals. And yeah, if you're interested, it's on Amazon and Kindle. I'd really appreciate it if someone likes it. Read it and let me know what you think. So until tomorrow, I will see you again when we look at and try to add some context to the headlines. Bye.